Hey everyone, Ekman here with another video, and today we have a top 32 breakdown for the Carta Magica Online Treasure Cup that happened this past weekend. It was over 900 players and this top 32 that we see here today. And a couple of things before we get started. First, if you guys enjoy the videos, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe. It really does help. And if you guys want any of the deck lists for this event or any other one that's happened in the last couple months, you can check out my website, Eggman Events. All of the events are there. You can check it out for their deck list and whatever else you need. So anyways, we're going to jump on into this one. Again, it was just over 900 players. 9 rounds of Swiss best of 1 played online. And of this top 32, we did have 13 Sakazuki, 8 Gecko Moria, 6 Trafalgar, with one of them winning the event, 2 copies of Edward Newgate, a single Nami, Katakuri, and Luffy as well. So obviously big surprise that Sakazuki Moria Law is taking over 75%. Not really, but I will say it's interesting to see no copies of Enel. I know a lot of people have been on that. It's the 4th most popular leader for this event, and only 1 copy of Katakuri. So yellow really wasn't around besides the Katakuri and I guess the black yellow Luffy. So other than that, Uta was our 5th most popular leader and didn't get into the top 32 for this one. And then Luffy again being able to get 1 copy sneak into this top 16 of the top 16. There's no unique leaders between top 16 and top 32 for this one. But that's kind of the quick breakdown. That's pretty much what I expect for events of this size. I think these are all pretty much strong leaders for this game. Obviously, Sakazuki, Moria, and Law are, again, the big 3. I think right now, Katakuri has been dethroned and Law has taken its place. And then there's a good amount of decks to sneak in. But again, I am pretty surprised that Enel wasn't able to get an X1 or a 7-2, at least with good tiebreakers. I'm sure there are some 7-2s that were able to potentially get there, but the tiebreakers weren't in their way. So anyways, we're going to go over the top placing leaders for each one of these leaders, starting off with our first place list, which is Nicholas' version of the Trafalgar Law. And this is obviously the newer deck in this format. EB01 had some really good cards for the deck. Specifically, we do have the Bon Clay as well as the Kid and Killer, being able to get more Dawn effectively. And also, this card can sometimes just be really cheesy and make some really big swings, as well as this just being a fantastic game ender. It's very easy to put your opponent down to 2 life with how aggressive this is. And then for no Dawn, at least for, by using your leader effect, you can play a 7k rush, essentially, which is very strong. It means most leaders will have to do a 2k and another card to get out of the attacks there. So other than that, I think Trafalgar Law also has the flexibility to make the build how you like it. There's a lot of tech choices and ratio choices for this deck. I think specifically for this one, I think Queen's been a little bit more present for these lists. It started off like for the first couple weeks where Queen wasn't in the deck at all, but I think 2 or 3 copies have been pretty popular just because it's another blocker. 5 cost blockers are a little bit tougher to handle compared to 4 cost blockers, and the card draw is actually really nice. And generally, the card draw is where you can kind of starve out Trafalgar Law, but we're also adding the addition of Miss All Sunday, which is a little expensive. You can't use this off your leader effect, but I do like the fact that you can technically ramp it Dawn with this card if needed, but also just being able to draw a card is really nice too. So this can play from life, which there are some situations where if you just had 1 more attacker, you'd be able to go for game. So this being able to pop out from there, I think is strong. And in general, yeah, red and purple just has like a lot of good tech cards for it, and not really surprising that this deck is doing really well. So this is Nicholas's list, and congratulations for their first place finish. Next up, we have Victor with their copy of Sakazuki, and obviously Sakazuki's been present since release, right? I guess that's the way, and it's going to be present until this time next month, where it will get hit by the restriction list with the release of OP07. But until then, we do have a couple new cards from EB01 that have been present. T-Bone's been the big one, just a better version of Virgo for the deck. Again, I don't think this card will see a lot of play on the board specifically, but it's a 2k Navy that has a present effect at sometimes. We see the 1 tech copy of Pudding. I think some people are trying to tech this in a little bit more, and then the new Brook as well. So it's not too difficult for us to put our opponent to one of their characters to 0. So on the on plan when attacking to give something -1 and then KO something with cost of 0 is kind of tempting on a body that's also 1k. So I know some people have been testing this out in Sakazuki, also in Gecko Moria's times. Sometimes like the passive -1 is great for the deck too. So I think it's fine. I think it's fine for what it is, and the deck is still great. It's a 3 cost, so sometimes if you need to get like additional reduction from like a 8-drop Moria play. So you can do something where you play Brook and Helmeppo, and they give something -4 for the turn, and then your leader gives it -5, so you can get some stuff into Houndblaze or Amma pretty nicely. So that's kind of the build for this one, and congratulations to Victor. One more month of Sakazuki, we'll see how well it goes, and we'll go from there. So next up we have Hung Lei with their copy of Nami. Nami's, I think, averaging about 1 top per event. I think that's pretty average for the deck as it is. We've seen a little bit more of a shift to kind of a newer build, kind of the add of the 7-drop Crocodile. It's a bit of an unassuming card, but does have this Banish and Dawn ×1. Blue event cards in your hand cost 1 less to play, so this is on both players' turns. So depending on what you're playing against, if they can't actually get rid of the Crocodile effectively, you do get to get so much value off of your Dawn. So I think that's helpful for what this deck tries to do. So for example, let's say you're at 8 Dawn, we can play a Crocodile for 7, put a Dawn underneath it, and then we can play all of our 1 cost for free. So our Desert Spadas, our Rubber Bands, our Gum Gum Gapples, which is really good. And then if it survives a turn, you can put 1 underneath it. You can pressure down one of their cards as like a 7k pretty easily, and then you're able to place cards like Sanji's Pilaf for free. Being able to play Gravity Blade on the next turn for less is great, and just the idea. So kind of, I haven't tested out personally. Maybe I should, but I do think like the idea is there. Obviously, some matchups I don't think you can play Crocodile. I think Sakazuki specifically can remove it too easily, so you don't really have the time to play it. And Moria like a 50-50 for it, but again, if it stays on board, your opponent's going to have to deal with all of these additional like free draws, because generally with Nami, in my experience, is less of a thing where you run out of cards inherently. It's more of you don't really have time to play the cards that let you draw more. And with this, you really are kind of able to, which is nice. So you get to play your Pilafs for 2, right? And you're able to just get that extra advantage. So don't have much more to say, but congratulations to Hung for their copy of Nami. We'll probably see Nami a couple more times in the next couple weeks, and we'll see what those builds look like. So next up, we do have Aidan with their version of Gecko Moria. And this is a pretty standard version of the deck. I do like the 1 add of the 2-drop Cerberus in this build. Just being able to have a blocker that you're able to play off your leader, even if it's just a 2-drop 2k, is very strong. Obviously, there's chances that you can get bottom decked by Sakazuki, can still get rested by Amaru, but being able to say, you know what, I'm going to play Cerberus and then follow up with a 5-drop Sabo, I think that's just great. Just being able to play those 2 blockers for pretty cheap and get that utility, I think is great for the deck for it. So other than that, pretty standard for what we're doing. We're playing our Thriller Bark cards. We've got some copies of the Rob Lucci. No Rebecca Hina in this build, which I think is a decision point, and it kind of goes back and forth if people decide if that's needed for the deck, but generally, I think this is a standard build for that. So I don't have much more to say, but congratulations to Aidan for their finish with Gecko Moria. Next up, we have Katakuri, and this is our one and only. This is Ryan's version of the build. And this is a bit of a unique build in it that we don't have any copies of Amaru, which is a little insane to me. That's kind of always on mine, so maybe I think maybe the thought is just like, people are playing around this so heavily, and there could just be cases where, you know what, if they're going to play around it, then I don't need to have it in the deck kind of thing. We do have a good amount of cards with Trigger in our life. We do have the 4 copies of Onami, 4 copies of Neko, which we don't see this one as often, but it is just a 4-drop 5k you can play for free off of your life as you launch your opponent's 3 or less life. Kiko Nojo, and then our Gadatsu, Linlins, and going from there. So honestly, this just kind of seems like a standard, more aggressive version of the build, being able to just have a lot of cards play off our life pretty consistently. I would imagine you get at least 1 Parasparrow, Kiko Nojo, or Neko off the 5 that you have in there. And then we do have, again, the reject and the you're the one who should disappear. So just a standard list, but just some interesting tech choices. And not having Amaru is really interesting in its own right, too. But not much more to say, but congratulations to Ryan for their top 16. Next up, we have Eric Quintana with their copy of Star Deck 13 Luffy. And I know that he's been grinding on this deck quite a bit. This has been, one of the newer leaders that came out in Star Deck 13. It's also like moderately linear, where this is the leader I think that takes advantage of the Luffys better than a lot of other decks. And so I know that he's been grinding, and it's been some really particular lists with it in particular. So the interesting card I think is Emporio, which doesn't see a lot of play, but it is handy. So blocker, but also on play, you may trash 1 card from the top or bottom of your life, reveal up to 1 character with a cost of 5 from your hand, and add it to the top of your life face down. So being being able to just get like a cycle is good. Sometimes there's also some scenarios where you need more like light cards in life. So being able to like Emporio and put that in there is great. Sometimes I usually see this with like Shirahoshi, but we're not seeing in this build. But again, being able to say like an early copy of like 2-drop Luffy is fantastic, or like 5-cross Luffy from playing the 2 costs from there. I think that helps the deck a lot. And again, just having like another blocker is cool, especially if you're playing like Sabo, so they can't get rid of it for real. And then we just have the rest. 3 copies of Ace is a little bit interesting, but I think we get enough cycle with the Garp and the 3 Brothers Bond that's fine. I know it's like the worst one to have in hand since we don't have counter with it, but I think it's fine otherwise. And then just what we imagine for the Flampe, for the Hiyori, and 2 copies of the Makino. So a bit of a unique build. Congratulations to Eric for their finish. And we'll see how Black Yellow Luffy continues to do for this format. I think it's going to be good in OPO7 as well. But any deck that can get rid of Sabo already has an edge for this deck, which is pretty tricky. So, but it does get some more removal next set, which is nice too. But anyways, this is the build. Congratulations to Eric for their finish there. And then lastly, we do have Jonathan with their version of Newgate. Newgate, I think, is actually doing pretty good in this format. I think it's like tier 1.5 in my mind. It's just is able to get some pretty consistent results. And generically, this build too is pretty unique. It's very, very rush heavy and also just very event heavy, as we can see. We're playing the Buggy, right? Which I haven't seen Buggy in a minute. This used to be like one of the terrors for this game. We do have, how many events do we have? 16 events. So we have guard points. We have the bad manners, which again, Nami can find most of these events outside of the Seaquake. We have the Gum Gum Giant Thrust. So counter gives something plus 2k and KO one of your opponent's characters with 2k power less. So this is really good for getting rid of like Tashigis and Rebecca's and that kind of stuff. And just like another 2k counter for us. And then our Rad Beam Seaquake and Giant, our giant Gum Gum Jet Pistol too. So we have a good amount of removal, which is great for a deck like this. And additionally, we do have no Newgate, no 9-drop in this one. So we're just trying to go low to the ground, be aggressive with our Luffy Rush, our Ace Rush card, as well as our Sanji Rush card, and just kind of push some damage, and then have just easy access to defense. Ace can also do some really nice stuff where we're able to do its on play to give something two things minus 3k power, and then that really lines up well with cards like Seaquake, which can get rid of a 6k for what it is. So obviously you can't get rid of like Borsalino or Sabo if they've used the effect, but being able to get removal for some 6ks is pretty good. So a unique list, pretty rush heavy, and congrats for him for doing so well with it. But that's going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want any of the other deck lists, they are on here on my website, Eggman Events, which is linked in the description. And again, thank you to Carta for running the event and for everything else. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.